The Story of Little White Rabbit. Once upon a time, in a peaceful forest, there was a very lovely and gentle little white rabbit. Little White Rabbit lived in a small house next to a clear stream. Every day, Little White Rabbit often went out to pick flowers, find fruits, and play with his friends in the forest. One fine morning, Little White Rabbit decided to visit his grandmother, who lived in a small house on the other side of the forest. Before leaving, his mother gave him a careful warning. "You must follow the trail and not turn onto strange roads, remember?" Little White Rabbit happily replied, "Yes, I remember, Mom." Then she put the small basket on her shoulder and began her journey. On the way, Little White Rabbit saw many beautiful scenes, fields of blooming flowers, butterflies flying everywhere, and birds chirping on the tree branches. Little White Rabbit walked and enjoyed the scenery, his heart filled with joy. As he approached his grandmother's house, White Rabbit saw a strange little path and thought, "I'll try this path, maybe it'll be faster." But he suddenly remembered what his mother had told him and decided to continue along the familiar path. Finally, Little White Rabbit arrived safely at Grandma's house. Grandma Rabbit was very happy to see her beloved grandson. They drank tea, ate cakes, and told each other funny stories. Little White Rabbit felt very happy and grateful for listening to his mother. When the sun set, Little White Rabbit said goodbye to her grandmother and returned home. On the way back, she admired the beautiful scenery of the forest and remembered her mother's words. Little White Rabbit understood that listening and following the advice of adults always kept her safe and happy. When she got home, White Rabbit told her mother about the trip and thanked her for giving her careful instructions. Mother Rabbit hugged her and said softly, "I always want you to be safe and happy, my dear." Little White Rabbit smiled, fell asleep in his mother's warm arms, dreaming of new adventures in the peaceful forest. The Story of Fluffy Cat. Once upon a time, in a small village surrounded by green fields, there lived a fluffy cat named Mimi. Mimi lived with her grandmother in a lovely little wooden house. Every morning when the sun was just rising, Mimi would go out to the garden to help her grandmother water the plants, pick vegetables, and take care of the flowers. One afternoon while she was knitting, Mimi ran up to her with curious eyes and said, "Grandma, I want to explore the forest behind the village. I heard there are many interesting things there." She smiled and said gently, "Okay, but remember to bring the red scarf I knitted for you so you don't get lost. And remember to be home before sunset." Mimi nodded happily, put on her red scarf, and began her adventure. The forest behind the village was magical with tall, ancient trees, colorful wildflowers, and clear, babbling brooks. After walking a while, Mimi met a sparrow looking for food. The sparrow happily greeted Mimi and asked, "Hello, little cat, where are you going?" Mimi replied, "I'm exploring the woods. Do you know any special places?" The sparrow smiled and pointed forward. "Follow this path. You will see a beautiful small lake. There are lotus flowers blooming there." Mimi thanked the sparrow and continued on her journey. Sure enough, not long after, Mimi arrived at a small lake with lotus flowers blooming on the water. Mimi sat by the lake, admiring the beautiful scenery and feeling very peaceful. Time passed quickly, the sun began to set. Mimi remembered her grandmother's advice, got up and headed home. On the way back, Mimi felt her heart filled with joy because she had discovered something new and interesting. When she got home, Mimi told her grandmother about her trip. She smiled and hugged Mimi, saying, "I'm so proud of you. You know, every trip gives us valuable experiences." Mimi felt so happy, gently falling asleep in her grandmother's warm arms, dreaming of further adventures in the magical forest.